Alright, I'm on a road trip right now. 212.5 miles traveled on this current tank of fuel. I'm going to top off right now, and then I'm going to attempt 500 miles off of one tank of fuel. 35-gallon tank, 6.8 V10. I have to average about 16.6 miles per gallon to get 500 miles and still have about 5 gallons left. I don't want to run it to empty. I don't want to run it down to a gallon of fuel. So 16.6 is what I have to average to get my 500 miles off of one tank, topping off right now. $212.5 miles traveled divided by 14.898 gallons added. Actual fuel economy 14.26, and the ultra gauge is reading 14, so pretty close, pretty accurate. Okay, 500 mile attempt here. I have to average about 16.6 to leave me about 5 gallons of fuel left.
Hanging out in the slow lane, going 60 miles per hour. Looks like I'm gonna have to drop my speed to 55 because of this guy in front of us. No one in this lane. I'm gonna hang out behind the semi trucks. Since I'm going for 16.6 miles per gallon, I keep my speed at about 60. Take advantage of any 55s I see. So on this tank of fuel, I'm running Marvel Mystery Oil. I think every car guy has a superstition. My superstition is if I'm going for maximum distance and I'm not topping off at 1/4 tank, I like to run Marvel Mystery Oil. It's a light coat of oil, so it coats the fuel pump with a thin coat of oil, keeping it cool. And I'm gonna have to slow down to 55 here, maybe even slower. Okay, I may be wrong, because my sister's last car was a 2007 Mazda 3, and when she traded it in, she got 215,000 miles out of it, and she always filled up when her fuel light came on. She even ran out of fuel a few times, and she never had fuel pump issues, so maybe the fuel pump is stronger than I think, but you know, I don't like to go less than 1/4 of a tank. But on this trip, I'm gonna have to go less than 1/4 since I'm nice downhill. This is gonna help my fuel economy. I'll up my speed a little bit. So yeah, this trip I need 16.6 mpg. Then I'll get a little more than 500 miles, and then I should have 5 gallons of fuel left, so I'm not running it to 1 gallon of fuel. So Marvel Mystery Oil on this trip. And then the container has little hash marks on it, so that it's 4 ounces per 10 gallons, so there's little hash marks where all the 4 ounce marks are, so you don't overfill. Okay, that's a little chat about car guy traditions that we have, car guy superstitions that we have. Mine is running Marvel Mystery Oil if I'm gonna go distance without filling up my tank. 63 miles traveled on this current tank of fuel. Fuel gauge is still reading above full. That's a good sign, because usually at about 60 miles the fuel hand is right on the full mark. It's still above full, so good pace right now. I should get that 500 miles. According to the ultra gauge, 17.9 miles per gallon. I need 16.6, so right now I'm doing good.
These Ford V10s have a reputation of getting horrible fuel economy, and they do in stop and go traffic. On road trips, they're okay if you're going 60 miles per hour. Average 60 miles per hour on this trip, 512.7 miles traveled. There it is on 1 tank of fuel, and there's my fuel right there. It's not touching the red, it's barely touching the top of the E. Unfortunately, this happened right now. I was looking at my ultra gauge, it says error, but right before I pulled in it was reading 15.9 mpg, and it's reading, it has 3 gallons left. I think there's more than 3 gallons left. So this was reading 15.9 mpg. I think I'm gonna get around the 16.6 I was going for. Let's fill this up right now, get the actual fuel economy numbers, and then of course I'm going to reset this. I don't know why it said error. Maybe it surprised the Ford V10 got 500 miles of range, and according to this it says I have 47.7 miles to go before I run it empty, which means this is 550 miles of range, but I think I did better than the 3 gallons it's indicating. I think there's about 6 gallons left in here. 29.333 gallons added, and I ran Marvel Mystery Oil through the tank. Unleash engine power. 512.7 miles traveled divided by 29.333 gallons. Actual fuel economy 17.478. I was aiming for 16.6. That way I have about 5 gallons of fuel left. Got way better than that. Before this said error, I was getting 15.9 mpg, and this says I have 3 gallons left and I could travel another 47.7 miles before I'm empty. I actually had 5.7 gallons left. So now I know the top of the E is about 6 gallons, a little more than 5.7, so I won't let it get to the bottom of that E. As soon as it touches that E, I'll fill up. That leaves me a good amount of fuel. I don't ever want to run this this tank empty. So 5.7 gallons, that's still a decent amount. So this van has a 500-mile range. As long as you keep the speed at 60, stop and go traffic, about a 300-mile range. This thing's not very good. This, like I said, these V10s have a reputation for horrible fuel economy. They do have horrible fuel economy when you're climbing and stop and go traffic, but on road trips, not bad.